Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Slaanesh and the Wood Elves. It's going to be myself with the Herald of Slaanesh facing off against Subutai, who's going to be coming in with the Spellweaver of Life. Now, as far as my build goes, it's going to be a lot of whips, and that's most of the build. Devoted Marauders of Slaanesh with the Hell Scourges in the front. These guys are great. Really high melee defense for the price point at 38. They have poison, 30 melee attack, decent damage output. So against light armor, they're generally going to be trading okay. So if you're fighting, let's say, War Dancers, Eternal Guards, those type of units, yeah, they might not win those fights, but for 550 gold, they're going to hold. They're immune to psychology in case there's any terror, and yeah, what's not to love? So that's the front line. Secondary row is going to be the real meat of the army. Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh are great. These guys trade very well into War Dancers. They have super high melee defense at 54, good armor, physical resist, they have poison, a really, really good grinding piece. It's kind of funny. You'd think the Slaanesh units would be like super high DPS, but realistically, a lot of their infantry, outside of the demons, of course, are just like very grindy and very tanky. So, but yeah, these guys will beat War Dancers. They do lose the Blade Singers in like a head-up one-on-one fight, but they cost like 300 gold less, if I'm not mistaken, maybe like 200 gold less, and they put a good dent in them in return. So yeah, I think that's a good investment for sure. In the backfield, this is one of my favorite matchups because any excuse I can have to use Chaos Knights and actually have them be good, man, just I'll take it all day. But Chaos Knights of Slaanesh are quite awesome for sure. They have the Devastating Flanker ability, so that can kind of compensate for the lack of lances, because Devastating Flanker, if you charge something in the back or the side, it doubles your charge bonus, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's going to be pretty fat. They have great sustained combat stats, and you know, Chaos Knights have always been very good against Wood Elves. Back in Warhammer 2 meta days, you would basically see like 2 or 3 Chaos Knights in the Wood Elf matchup from the Warriors of Chaos. And, you know, Wood Elves are very good at sniping too, right? They have, like, some of the best archers in the game, and I've lost a lot of matches against, you know, Elven-style factions by having a big, fancy Demon Lord or something like that and having it get gooned out. So I just went with, like, a support character. So we have the Herald of Slaanesh, which I'm just going to be spamming Acquiescence and using Pavane of Slaanesh to rampage any cavalry units and win those fights. And also the Portal Glyph is good too, right? You get to summon a couple Chaos Furies to shut down archers. It just feels like it's a superior choice. But the big thing about this cheap character is that you can just spam spells, and with the Blissful Rapture, the entire Slaanesh army is going to be getting melee attack. So it's very much like Wurzag. And that's it. We got the Princes of Perfection. The ROR Spear is going to grab our side objective. And we're also going to do a back pressure. I'm really going to be trying to get aggressive against my opponent here with the Devoted Marauders moving into the backfield. Now, for the forces of Subutai, you know, meta for Wood Elves these days, I mean, I think it's kind of a combination of War Dancers, Blade Singers, and Way Watchers are still very popular too, but this build's going to be super melee focused. Triple or double War Dancer? Yeah, triple War Dancer with triple Blade Singer, so really bringing a lot of stopping power. And Blade Singers, if left to their own devices, can really cut through a lot of Chaos Infantry. What I need to do against them is maybe cast some spells on them, debuff them when they're fighting my infantry using Acquiescence, use my heavy cavalry to run them down. That's really going to be the bread and butter. A couple Starfire Shafts, and we do have the Spellweaver of Life. It should be fun. Let's get this party started. Let's have some fun and see how this is going to go down. So the Wood Elves is going to be moving up, and the Forces of Chaos is going to be meeting them in the middle. Devoted Marauder is going to go first. I didn't know if he had any big heavy missiles, so I just wanted to kind of throw the cheap shields at him. While in the backfield, we're going to be doing a heavy push. We got the Chaos Knights looking cool with their pink hooves, with the Devoted Marauders, the Heathen Knights of Slaanesh moving through the bushes here, getting ready to party on that back objective. And I really like this strategy when you're playing Chaos, like that aggressive, like triple objective push against more defensive bow type factions or gunline factions, because then even if you start to lose on value, sometimes you can win on points by having a triple cap for some time. So Glade Guard here getting some nice shots. As far as my reinforcements, we're going to be calling in Forsaken of Slaanesh. A great unit. Like I said, you get physical resist on them, which is always helpful, and they have Devastating Flanker, so they can get some nice charges. They can do work. And yeah, they can rip apart War Dancers if they're able to get those good flanks. So nice charge here by Subutai. Uses the Great Stag Knights to hammer into my Devoted Marauders. Pulls back, does about 10% HP damage, and also is able to not take too much damage in return. Here we see the War Dancers moving up, and in exchange, I do pull the Devoted Marauders back, sending forward the Chaos Warriors with Hell Scourges, because I want them to be fighting War Dancers. Not Blade Singers, but War Dancers. Blade Singers that you want to throw chaff units into, usually elite units, yeah, you just want to lay time down with those type of things, right? Forsaken pushing up, and this is all part of the plan for going that back objective here, and these Forsaken are going to butter some bread. These Eternal Guard are going to get ripped to shreds. You can see they're taking some substantial casualties as they actually try and run. Maybe they should have turned and fought down to 87 models. And now the back objective is probably going to be falling into our clutches as the Chaos Knights of Slaanesh are going to be ripping a fat charge here in just a moment. You certainly see those War Dancers, and they're going to be out for blood. I think I was trying to get around them to sandwich them, but at the end of the day, I end up just taking the charge and running into those guys. And look how cost-effective these Forsaken are. Ripping through 2 infantry units, not bad at all, as the Portal Glyph does go down, but nonetheless, the Wood Elves have now engaged in the front, and Devoted Marauders against War Dancers, like, that's not a terrible trade. Yeah, the War Dancers would win in a sustained fight, but that is pretty cost-effective considering that the Hell Scourges are quite a bit cheaper, right? But now the heavy hitters of the forest are here, baby. We've got the Great Stag Knights. Great Stag Knights are an excellent armor-piercing piece. Very much a finesse piece. They're expensive and a bit of a glass cannon unit. Not super glass cannon, but you don't want to be losing them in rough engagements. They are expensive, right? It's like losing a Chaos Knight. And speaking of Chaos Knights, these guys doing some serious work, buttering the bread of the War Dancers, but now a nice countercharge going to be coming in from Subutai. Beautiful stuff. As Christmas is going to be coming early to some of these Slaanesh cavalry, you can see those big, heavy knights do get run down right there, and are going to get routed back by the Christmas cap. So we do move in with the Forsaken. Going to be trying to buffer in and hold this objective. We have a nice triple cap at this point, as the devoted Marauders of Slaanesh continue battling the War Dancers here. And on this side, we have the Chaos Warriors with Hell Scourges, unfortunately getting caught in combat with Blade Singers. So this is like really, really nice for my opponent here. He's going to be able to cut through a lot of my warriors, and though they will hold well, you know, it's not a pretty fight. You can see they're getting cut up right now, doing a little bit of damage in return. Calling some cavalry in, we do have the Hellstriders of Slaanesh with Hell Scourges. You know, I've done a bit of testing, and I always like to kind of reserve a bit of a spot for the anti-large variant, but I just think the Hell Scourge variant is objectively going to be better in almost every situation. We do use some, and we split them around two sides. So this one goes around here, and this one moved in to attack the Blade Singers, doing some respectable damage, and to the backfield, it's going very nicely for us. We actually were able to use the Pavane of Slaanesh to wreck those Great Stag Knights, and now another Great Stag Knight's going to be on its way in, and it looks like an Earthblood from my opponent, but Acquiescence is active, so the entire army is going to be getting a melee attack buff, and the stat line of the Great Stag Knights is going to be lowered in regards to the melee defense. And the Chaos Knights were able to pull back. Forsaken and Devoted Marauders grinding super cost effectively into this fight, and some Forsaken were able to maneuver from the middle, going to be getting a sandwich and rear charge, and Forsaken have almost 60 weapon strength. They will for sure kill Stag Knights if they get caught in sustained combat. So the Forsaken getting some nice chop in there into the War Dancers and the Spears. Chaos Knights coming in from the other side, the dreaded sandwich of Slaanesh. Also, there's going to be a little bit of witchcraft going down as the second portal glyph, I believe, is being used by my Herald. Going to be summoning some of the birds right here, or the Chaos Furies, to go shut these guys down. Now, in the middle, it looks like the objective might be flipping to the Wood Elves here. Chaos Warriors as Hell Surges doing great work. 85 models, holding back these War Dancers and Blade Singers. These other Devoted Marauders just doing awesome work against the War Dancers as well. And we're going to be flooding some units in to try and maintain the capture weight and really, really keep that lead going. Hell Scourges dove the backfield, but were intercepted by Stag Knights, as well as a couple of Eternal Guards. Subutai here sitting with the Spellweaver of Life, casting regrowths, I believe, on the Great Stag Knights. And as far as the backfield trading goes, it's been very advantageous for us. Pretty much every single time a Great Stag Knight came in and got a little bit low, it would try to run. And then I casted the Pavane of Slaanesh on those bad boys, which rampages them, and then they just come to their doom against the Slaaneshi horde, right? A couple of Treekin mixing it up here, but Treekin are not going to have the stopping power to get through these masses. We do have more War Dancers on their way in. War Dancers are pretty cost effective against most infantry pieces. And here in the pit fight, it looks like the objective was flipped back to us as the swarms of Slaanesh have arrived. The Princes of Perfection have their prison shanks out for the Dark Prince. And they do have the Soporific Musk, which is pretty good. It's going to be lowering the stat line here. You can see the poison in tandem with the Musk, really lowering the stat line of those Blade Singers, making the fight a little bit more manageable for my other troopers. But those Blade Singers have been good and good value. I would wager like these ones are probably up over 1,000. Yeah, 900 right there, not bad. And more Chaos Warriors on the way in, and Fiends of Slaanesh, which is a cool tech here. I actually like Fiends in a few matchups. I don't bring them as like a centerpiece, I bring them as a tech piece. And what I was expecting was Treekin. I thought like the meta for Slaanesh against Wood Elves is mass Chaos Warriors and mass Marauders. Obviously you don't want to die to missiles, you bring a bunch of cheap shielded infantry. So what I've seen Wood Elf players doing is mixing it up by bringing like Treekin, other, you know, kind of tankier targets like that. And Fiends of Slaanesh are excellent against armor. They have good armor piercing. They will annihilate a Treekin unit. And they're also not bad against infantry. They debuff, they do big shock damage, and you can see they're going to be giving that sweet, sweet, soporific musk there to those War Dancers. And now they're going to be bouncing back and helping to clear out the other one. So the middle objective looking pretty good for us. Value lead is starting to increase. Healing is available on the other side. So the value lead I have is probably just over 1,000, I would say. Chaos Knights of Slaanesh trading good into the Stag Knights. So far, it's been a pretty great trade for the Chaos Knights. I don't know how much value they've gotten, only 1,000, but they've been disruptive, and they've been drawing a lot of my opponent's attention here, and I think certainly paying some big dividends. But the backfield objective is resecured by the hardwood. The Blade Singers, the Treekin, and just overwhelming numbers from the reinforcement home point were able to overwhelm me there. But now in the middle, we're looking pretty good. And the Fiends of Slaanesh popping in, and yeah, they're going to just be a really nice supplement against the Chaos Warriors. If you guys have ever seen like Ogre Kingdoms play, and you're a little bit newer to the game perhaps, it's usually a really good idea if you have infantry to stack monstrous infantry or monstrous units on top of them, because the infantry can still fight, and the monsters just kind of stand on top of them. And it has a very symbiotic relationship. Like a very lightly armored monstrous unit, like the Fiends of Slaanesh, if they were taking most of the DPS from War Dancers, it would be very bad. But the Chaos Warriors with Hell Scourges here, those bad boys, of course, do have 100 armor and will be taking a lot of the attacks. The See big damage there. Acquiescence is active on the Dryads. Melee attack buff going to be saucing up the army. 49 and 37. Now they move into the Dryads here and start nibbling them down. And Fiends do magic damage, so that's going to be circumventing the physical resist of the Dryads here. And on the back objective, we just moved some tattered units that came back, some Forsaken and some Marauders onto the point. And that's going to be pretty good capture weight. I mean, these guys are probably at 2 capture weight right now, considering their model count. And that's going to be a combined total of like 5 or 6. So Fiends of Slaanesh still grinding it out very effectively. Chaos Knights looping around the side. Forsaken moving up. And looks like the Wood Elves are honestly losing most of these fights. A couple War Dancers do move in. Looks like there's going to be some Witchcraft going down, and it was the Pavane of Slaanesh. It actually does damage too. So even if you don't have any good rampaging targets like right now, it's not bad for helping one of your units win the fight, because it does do damage per second, which is, you know, respectable. And Fiends and company chewing it up here, and we do call in some more Hellstriders. Mobile, fast, and relatively hard-hitting. What's not to love? And the back objectives does get flipped. And at this point, the Wood Elves aren't really going to have much of a chance. They're behind on value by a considerable amount. They haven't scored any points. It would take them a long time to grind any sort of a value, like equality back. And at that point, I'd be able to Helm's Deep on objective 1. But even still, the value lead is only getting bigger as my forces are outnumbering them on the battlefield here. It looks like some Dryads going to be called in. But you see Archers and Bladesingers coming in. But these Bladesingers aren't going to have a good time. There's several monstrous units out on the battlefield, which would be pretty good against them. Here you can see they move in and do start to grind with those Chaos Knights and those other units. But you know, they're going to start taking a little bit of damage themselves. More Marauders on the way in. Even the Haggard Chaos Knights have returned. Hellskirt is just kind of chasing everything down in the backfield. And here, the Fiends of Slaanesh do head to the back point. He's going to try and like burn down these Treekin really quick. You'll see they start to do good damage against the Treekin once they do get into combat. They definitely have the DPS to do it. But overall, there's pretty much going to be no chances for the Wood Elves as they do move in, and that is going to be all she wrote for the forces of the Hardwood. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one, man. And I've been like, I played Slaanesh in that single faction tournament a couple weeks ago. I went 2-2 with them. It was my first time playing them really in a tournament setting in probably like months. And I don't know, I felt like there was more than meets the eye, and I feel like I was putting a little bit too much credence on Sigvald and using these like big monster demons, like, you know, not Inkari, but like the Exalted Keepers and stuff. But man, wide Slaanesh is really quite good. Like going wide with all the, you know, Chaos Warriors and Marauders and whatnot, and then using the force multiplying effect of the Lord of Slaanesh. It's kind of similar to Greenskins. Greenskins do it a little bit better because they have the Wah on top of that, and they have the Squigs, which are just crazy cost effective. But even still, I feel like Slaanesh has got some hidden potential in the competitive scene for sure. And for Subutai's build, I thought it was good. I mean, the War Dancers did great. The reason why that game didn't go well for the Wood Elves, it wasn't the infantry fights, it was the Stag Knights. The Stag Knights are big investments, and neither of them got even close to paying for themselves. Both engagements with the Stag Knights, they got rampaged and just down traded super hard. Whereas if those Stag Knights had at least paid for themselves, we would have had an equal game on our hands. It would have been razor close, and I could have easily lost it. I think the Stag Knights is where the game went wrong, because Bladesingers did great. 1800, 1200 is not bad, 1100 considering they were fighting some hard fights. And yeah, it was a fun match. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. We'll be back with more action soon. You guys take care of yourselves. And, you know, Sigvald bless his ravaged body, I guess. Not Sigvald, but the Herald, I suppose. Take care. See you guys next time.